Hey guys, this is Justin Video Game Addict 87 and today is a Throwback Thursday. Today is the first of the Throwback Thursdays and it's, as you guessed, the History of Zelda, a Video Game Addict 87 review. I'll be covering the origins, flops and fails to successes and unforgettable moments in the vast Nintendo franchise. Grossing over 67.9 million copies sold since the release of the first Legend of Zelda, the series consists of 16 official games all on major Nintendo consoles, as well as several spin-offs. There have been individual manga adaptations and even the animated series that aired in 1989. Classified as a mixture of action, adventure, puzzle, exploration, and questing, Legend of Zelda has remained consistent throughout the series, minus some refinements and additional features in each new game. Such new features include stealth in games like Wind Waker. But how did the franchise become so popular? For that answer, we have to jump backwards in time to 1986. This epic legend begins with series creators Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka. Miyamoto, as a child, would go exploring in the hillsides near his childhood home in Sonobe, Japan, where he ventured into forests with secluded lakes, caves, and rural villages. According to Miyamoto, one of his most memorable experiences was the discovery of a cave entrance in the middle of the woods. After some hesitation, he apprehensively entered the cave and explored its depths with the aid of a lantern. He has often referred to the creation of Zelda games as an attempt to bring to life a miniature garden for players to play in each of the games' series. The first Legend of Zelda was released on the Famicom Disk System in Japan on February 21, 1986, August 27, 1987 in the US, and November 27, 1987 in Europe. The plot was about a small kingdom in the land of Hyrule is engulfed in chaos after an army led by Ganon, the Prince of Darkness, invades it and stole the Triforce of Power. The Triforce of Power is part of a magical artifact bestowing great strength. In an attempt to prevent Ganon from acquiring the Triforce of Wisdom, Princess Zelda splits it and hides it 8 fragments in secret dungeons throughout the land. Before the princess is eventually kidnapped by Ganon, she commands her nursemaid, Impa, to find someone courageous enough to save the kingdom. While wandering the land, the old woman is surrounded by Ganon's henchmen, though a young boy named Link appears and rescues her. After hearing Impa's plea, he resolves to save Zelda and sets out and resemble the scattered fragments of the Triforce of Wisdom to become powerful enough to defeat Ganon. During the course of the game, Link locates the 8 underground labyrinths, defeats several guardian monsters, and retrieves the fragments. With the completed Triforce of Wisdom, Link is able to infiltrate Ganon's hideout, Death Mountain, eventually confronting the pig-like enemy and destroying him with a silver arrow. Link picks up the Triforce of Power from Ganon's ashes and returns both pieces of the Triforce to rescue Princess Zelda, restoring peace to Hyrule. Thus starts a legacy that will exceed Nintendo fans' expectations, at least until the release of Legend of Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. In my opinion, this was the most horrible attempt to link, pardon the pun, to the actual sequel, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Although one of the toughest games in the series, the concept behind the terrible game is the fact that the worst story in the entire series. Several years after the original takes place, the now 16-year-old Link notices a strange mark on the back of his left hand, exactly like the crest of Hyrule. He seeks out Impa, who responds by taking Link to the North Castle, where a door has been magically sealed for generations. Impa places the back of Link's left hand on the door and it opens, revealing a sleeping maiden. Impa tells Link that this maiden is Zelda, not the Zelda from the first game, the Princess of Hyrule from long ago, and the origin of Legend of Zelda. Zelda's brother had tried to force her into telling their recently deceased father's secrets concerning the last of the 3 sacred Golden Triangle treasures of his kingdom, known collectively as the Triforce. Princess Zelda refused to reveal its location, and the prince's wizard friend, in anger, tried to strike her down with a spell. Zelda fell under a powerful sleeping spell, but it also resulted in the wizard's own death. The prince, filled with remorse and unable to reverse the spell, had his sister placed in a castle tower in the hope that she would one day be awakened. He decreed the princess born to the royal family from that point on would be named Zelda, in remembrance of this tragedy. Impa says the mark on Link's hand means that he is the hero chosen to awaken Zelda. She gives Link a chest containing 6 crystals and ancient writings that only a great future king of Hyrule can read. Link finds, although he's never seen these symbols before, that he can read it, and indicates each crystal needs to be placed in a different palace in Hyrule. This will open the way to the Great Palace, which contains the Triforce of Courage. This, combined with the other two parts, has the power to awaken the enchanted Zelda. Taking the crystals, Link sets out to restore them to their palaces. Meanwhile, the followers of Ganon are still seeking to kill Link. Sprinkling his blood on Ganon's ashes would bring Ganon back to life. Ultimately, Link restores the crystals to their palaces. With the crystals in place, the entrance of the Great Palace is opened. After venturing deep inside, Link is made to battle a shadowy doppelganger of himself known as Dark Link. Link then claims the Triforce of Courage and returns to Zelda. The three triangles reunite in a collective Triforce, and Link's wish is to awaken Zelda. And the game ends as they presumably kiss under a falling curtain. Being fundamentally different from its predecessor, a different team was assembled to develop the game. The game was directed by Tadashi Sugiyama and was his first project at Nintendo. The only good news about the adventure of Link is that in 2003 it was re-released for the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition for GameCube, and in 2004 for the classic NES series for Game Boy Advance. On the original version, it was rated 110th best game made on Nintendo system in Nintendo Power's Top 200 Games list. Although in 2008 Nintendo Power listed as the 12th best game for Nintendo Entertainment System video game, it did pose excellent gameplay and created unique elements that created an action RPG experience unlike any other. According to GameSpot, however, it only scored 6.9 out of 10. Not that great, Nintendo. Not that great. It wouldn't be until Christmas of 1998 when the Nintendo 64 had the release of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. This is considered the single greatest game on the N64 and the greatest game of the 1990s. New features such as a target locking system, 3D graphics, context-sensitive buttons that have since become elements in 3D adventure games. The game won the grand prize in the Interactive Art Division at Japan Media Arts Festival, winning 6 honors at the 2nd Annual Interactive Achievement Awards, and received an overwhelmingly positive critical reception. The title is widely considered by critics and gamers alike to be the greatest game ever made. In 2008 and 2010, Guinness World Records declared that Ocarina of Time is the highest rated game ever reviewed. Ocarina of Time has 4 major re-releases. It was originally ported to the GameCube alongside an Ocarina of Time Master Quest, which featured reworked dungeons with new puzzles, and Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition as a direct port. It was also ported to the iQue player in 2003 and the Wii's Virtual Console service in 2007, and then a port to the Nintendo 3DS in October 2012. The basic plotline for Ocarina of Time is that Link sets out on a quest to stop Ganondorf, king of the Gerudo tribe, from obtaining the Triforce, a sacred relic that grants the wishes of its holder. Link travels back and forth through time and navigates various dungeons to awake sages who have the power to seal Ganondorf away. Music plays an important role. To progress, the player must learn to play and perform several songs on an ocarina. At Hyrule Castle, Link meets Princess Zelda, who has been having dreams about the future of Hyrule, and foresaw Link's arrival. She believes Ganondorf, the Gerudo King of Thieves, is seeking the Triforce, a holy relic in the sacred realm that gives its holder godlike power. Zelda's description of Ganondorf matches the man who killed the Great Deku Tree, as well as the man from Link's Nightmare. Zelda asks Link to obtain the 3 spiritual stones, one of which he already possesses, so that he may enter the sacred realm and claim the Triforce before Ganondorf reaches it. Link goes to Goron City where he meets Darunia, the leader of the Goron race. After Link defeats King Dodongo, the boss of the Dodongo's cave, Darunia gives him the Goron's ruby, symbolizing brotherhood. Next, Link goes to the Zora's domain where he obtains Zora's sapphire from Ruto, the Zora princess, after rescuing her from the belly of Lord Jabu Jabu, a whale-like creature sacred to the Zoras. To sum up a really long story, in the end, Link defeats Ganondorf and then the big boss version of him, Ganon. And then, of course, Zelda used the Ocarina of Time to send Link to his original time to live out his childhood, at which point Navi departs, and in the game's final scene, Link meets Zelda in the castle garden yet again. Characters from and references to the Legend of Zelda series have appeared in a variety of other video games that go beyond what is considered a typical cameo appearance. This may include major story elements, character development, and even affect major game features. Link appears as a fighter in Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. Link is also a fighter in Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube, appearing alongside a Zelda who is able to transform into her alter ego Sheik, Ganondorf, and the young Link, the child version of Link from the Ocarina of Time. These characters have all their basic appearance and items as seen as Ocarina of Time. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the Wii, all of Melee's Zelda characters make a return, upgraded to their models and items from the Twilight Princess, with the exception of young Link, who was replaced by Toon Link from the Wind Waker. Link also appears as an exclusive fighter in the GameCube version of Soul Calibur 2. Multiple items from the Zelda series are obtainable in-game in the Stellaview exclusive Stellar Walker 2. In the Super Nintendo game Kirby Superstar and its Nintendo DS remake Kirby Superstar Ultra, the Triforce can be found in the game The Great Cave Offensive. Also, when Kirby obtains the sword ability, he wears a hat similar to Link's. In the game Animal Crossing, items such as the Master Sword and Triforce are frequently used as designs or on furniture. One of the levels in Super Mario 3D Land was inspired by The Legend of Zelda, and in the Super Nintendo game Kirby Superstar and its Nintendo DS remake Kirby Superstar Ultra, the Triforce can be found in the game The Great Cave Offensive. Also, when Kirby obtains the sword ability, he wears a hat highly similar to Link's. And what would The Legend of Zelda be without the legendary soundtrack that goes alongside of it? Taking place in Cologne, Germany, on September 23, 2010, video game music concert Symphonic Legends focused on music from Nintendo and, among others, featured titles such as The Legend of Zelda. Following an intermission, the second half of the concert was entirely dedicated to expansive symphonic poems dedicated to the series. The 35-minute epic tells the story of Link's evolution from child to hero. In 2011, electronic artist Zed, who works alongside of Skrillex, released a dance-style track named The Legend of Zelda on iTunes. It features many of the 8-bit sounds from the original series. Violinist Lindsey Sterling has released a single called Zelda Melody in 2011, along with a popular YouTube video in which she dressed herself as Link. She has also done a violin duet version of the song as well. There has even been a massive cultural influence. Professional wrestler Cody Runnels, better known as Cody Rhodes, is a fan of the series and has stated he replays A Link to the Past annually. His wrestling boots feature a Triforce symbol. And actor-comedian Robin Williams revealed in November 26, 2009 interview with Jimmy Fallon that his daughter Zelda Ray is named after the title character in the series.
The first time I saw you, I knew we'd be linked forever. For you, I traveled to the four corners of the world. I faced adversity. I became a hero.
Dad.
I saved your kingdom.
Dad.
Yes, Zelda?
Are you mixing me up with the princess again?
Hard to say. You're both pretty magical.
In 2011, both Williams and his daughter starred together in an advertisement for the Ocarina of Time 3D. In the 2010 film adaptation, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World makes multiple references to the Zelda games in the soundtrack, including use of the fairy fountain theme in one of the film's dream sequences. The cover of the first edition of Nicholas Andrews' humorous fantasy novel, The Adventure of Tournament from 2011, is a parody of the Legend of Zelda title screen. The author states that it is fitting since he is introduced to the fantasy through the first Legend of Zelda game. Link's hat is also referenced in the book as possible piece of equipment for the main character, Remy, who rejects it on the grounds that it would make him look like a big green bean. He then brushes off a response that one of the world's greatest warriors wore a similar cap. The Legend of Zelda is just one of those franchises that just sticks with you for years to come. Ever since 1984, people have been coming back and back and back again, just to see and play Link, save Princess Zelda, and defeat Ganon. The Legend of Zelda franchise is the inaugural recipient of Spike TV's first ever Video Game Hall of Fame award. The franchise was inducted on December 10, 2011 during the 2011 Spike Video Game Awards. According to British film magazine Empire, with the most vividly realized world and the most varied gameplay of any title on any console, Zelda is a solid bet for the best game series ever. But what does the future hold for the Legend of Zelda series? Of course, we'll be seeing a Wind Waker HD for the Wii U and a Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. But what about the new projects? How will they reimagine the Zelda franchise? The one thing that Zelda fans will tell you is that the dungeon exploration formula is no longer working. They need to reimagine ways to create a brand new gameplay experience. An original Zelda title for the Wii U is still a ways off, says Eiji Aonuma for Nintendo of America. Just don't start asking him about tentative release dates. Pikmin 3 will encounter numerous delays, and of course, players shouldn't expect to see a Wii U Zelda anytime soon. However, within the next 2 years, there should be some sort of release date. But of course, we're going to be seeing somewhat of a new moment when it comes to Zelda. The upcoming 3DS title, Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, is set in the same universe as 1991's The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. The game allows Link to essentially become a drawing to slip into landscapes and scale walls. It's a way to toy with 2D and 3D abilities of the handheld 3DS, as well as create puzzles not traditionally found in a Zelda game. A Link Between Two Worlds was given to Aonuma as an assignment from Nintendo mastermind Shigeru Miyamoto, who was responsible for some of the most recognizable games of all time, including Donkey Kong and the Zelda series, as well as Super Mario Bros. As Aonuma tells it, Miyamoto wanted to re-explore A Link to the Past because of the original. We actually kind of faked the sense of height with shading and other tricks. But how does that change the gameplay? It wasn't until his team hit the idea of turning Link into a drawing that he became excited about the possibilities of the project. The concept of shape-shifting Link into a work of art was inspired by the ghostly phantom Ganon from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. If Link encounters a wall, visually it's not very interesting. It's going to be a limited space, but if you combine that with a top-down view and have two shifts in perspectives, you open up the opportunities for discovery. It isn't always clear when and where Link needs to jump into 2D mode, and at what moment Link should use it to slither in and out of dungeon walls. That's by design, and it's against the hand-holding of many modern adventure games, where directional cues and highlighted objects make the path before the player an obvious one. You create this world, you create the character, and you tell the world, and the world, rather, should tell the character what he or she is supposed to do as opposed to being spoon-fed. At the same time, you want the character to be interesting enough so the player is invested. You don't want a character that's too boring, doesn't do much. You need to give some information, but not too much. If it's too much, it starts feeling forced or separated from what the player feels, and the connection is lost. As a creator, that's something we struggle with, as Aonuma has said. What I want to do, not specifically with Link, but with the Zelda franchise, I'm always striving to make something no one else can do. Something that is distinctively Zelda and that can never be reproduced. There are times when I hit walls and I come up with new ideas, and maybe I feel that I should just give up and quit. But eventually a new idea comes along and I'm proud of myself. It breathes new life into the creative process. I go over these phases over and over again. I hope the high points keep on coming. Frankly, I don't really care what they do to the format. I just hope they won't make it a drastic change that completely changes the formula. There is a predictable formulation, such as the same number of items and as well as the items themselves. Iron boots, same villain, same number of dungeons. I really hope that they can make a Zelda game that feels like what Zelda has meant through all the years, and not some great game that we just feel is a disgrace to the Zelda just because of disinterest. The big problem definitely is the fact that it's the same story. When, the Legend of Zelda Wii U version comes out, take a step back from the series' long history and focuses on the world of open gameplay of the original NES classic. Since Ocarina of Time, the series has become increasingly linear, and I think that that's slowly made it predictable. I still think that Zelda needs to have an open world feel to it like the original did, and not necessarily have a set story, a linear story. Have a multiple ending possibility. Have the fact that you have major side quests that still need to be accomplished before you can proceed on to a dungeon. Make it somewhat like Skyrim. but of course in the Zelda series, the Zelda world. I think if they incorporated ideas like that, we would see one of the most excellent games since Ocarina of Time. And speaking of time, that's all I have time for today. I want to thank you guys very much for watching the video. I took quite a bit of time in preparing this for you guys, so I hope that you guys will be able to subscribe, like the video, give me comments and feedback whether you like this video or not, whether I should continue with the ThrowBack Thursdays, maybe change up some topics, who knows what. So guys, remember to subscribe, like, comment, questions, concerns. Also, find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Blogger. And, of course, definitely check out Patreon.com. Again, just a small plug for them. If you guys donate at least a minimum of $1, it helps out not only me, but also helps out other potential content creators you may discover along the way. $1 goes a long way, and if you guys support the YouTube community as well as other content creators, it only makes their lives a lot easier. For me personally, I could definitely use a new graphics card to update, my old rig here and be able to render videos a little bit faster. I'd also like to be able to learn a little bit more about Sony Vegas and After Effects. Who knows what the future holds. If you guys donate at least $5, I've got a bracelet for you, and if you donate $15, I've got a t-shirt for you with the VGA logo on it. So until next time, guys, this is Justin, Video Game Addict 87, and I'll see you next time. Peace.